Hey there! Welcome to Middle Age Crazy, the show that proves being an adult doesn't have to suck. With your host, Chuck T.
Hey there, welcome to the show. Come on in, get comfortable, put the earbuds in the ears, do whatever you gotta do. I'm Chuck T. This is the Middle Age Crazy Podcast, and we are the show that proves being an adult does not have to suck. I appreciate you tuning in today. We've got a great show for you. We're talking the tattoo business with one of my oldest friends in the world, Wherry. But before we get into all of that, I gotta say we're getting great feedback about episode 3 when we talked the cannabis industry with my old pal, Corey Coleman. This guy's got a plethora of knowledge. Yes, I said a plethora of knowledge about the hemp industry, CBD, cannabis, the whole 9 yards. So we've been getting a lot of great feedback on social media, and we even got a follow-up question on the hotline. And it got me thinking, maybe some other people have some other follow-up questions. Unfortunately, Corey and I weren't able to connect this time, but if you call the hotline with some follow-up questions, I think we might be able to make it happen for the next show. So give us a call at 515-478-3412. If you have any follow-up questions about the cannabis industry from my man Corey Coleman, give us a call. And here's the deal. I want listener interaction. I want you to call, and I want to put you on the show. We're looking for feedback, suggestions. Tell me if you think I'm awesome. Tell me if you think I suck. Tell me if you think we should have a different guest on. Whatever it is, give us a call. We want to get you involved in the show. The number is 515-478-3412. And we can't forget about the plug for social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Middle Age Pod. And I'm going to keep begging for followers because that's how you get famous in this world these days, right? Social media. So follow us on social media, retweet, tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell your grandma. We don't care. Spread the word. And if you need to send us an email, middleagecrazypod@gmail.com. And if you forget everything else, you can always find us at middleagepod.com. And now, let's get to my old pal, Wherry. This is not a joke when I say this guy is a true Renaissance man. He's kind of done it all. He's into music, he's into art, he's into sports, he's a teacher. He's done a little bit of everything, and he's kind of the total opposite of me, which is why I think we get along so great. He's a man of faith, I'm a man of no faith. He kept it straight edge through college. I was a complete degenerate in college. He's one of those guys that's super motivated and has tons of drive, and I'm a lazy piece of shit. So we work together pretty well, yin and a yang. We've recorded music together, we've played shows together. He's even my former tag team partner from the Cedar Falls Wrestling Alliance. Yes, that's true. Old Chuck T dabbled in pro wrestling in college, and old Aaron was my partner. We eventually feuded, he broke a PlayStation over my head. It was really cool. Anyway, let's get to the interview. He's one of my oldest pals, and he's the coolest guy I know. Wherry, we're talking tattoos, let's do it.
Hey, my name is Wherry. I'm about to be 43 years old in 5 days. I'm currently in Bakersfield, California, and I'm a tattoo artist.
All right, it's episode number 4, the Middle Age Crazy Podcast. Let's do the interview. That's why you're all here anyway. Gonna talk to one of my old buddies going all the way back to freshman year of college. Wherry, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for coming on kind of last minute. I had a little bit of some scheduling fiascos going on with some guests, and you stepped in last minute and said, I'll do it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, has there ever been a time since you've met me that I haven't come through when you needed it?
No, you are one of the most dependable people I know. And that's kind of why I didn't have you slated for the first few guests, because I knew if something got fucked up, you'd be there to kind of fill in.
I appreciate that. Ace in the hole and all that.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about the tattoo business today because don't be insulted if I call you a part-time tattoo artist, but I know you have a full-time job, but you do some tattooing on the side, which makes it interesting. But we're going to talk about tattoos and all that jazz. But before we get going, I want to make sure you have an opportunity to plug things, your website, social media, where you're working. I know you're doing some expos and shit like that. So if you got anything to plug right now, let's go for it.
Yeah, man. I've got tons of stuff to plug. First off, my Instagram. That's where I want most people to come check out my work. And, with sponsors especially, the larger the number, the more interactive people are with my Instagram. That's a huge help for me. So I really do appreciate all the people that follow me and comment and like my pictures and stuff. So that's at A+9 Design, APLUS, the number 9 Design. That's you can find everything there. While you're on Instagram, the 2 companies that I'm working with right now that are amazing and are about to change the tattoo industry is at Rook Wave Switch and at Official Wicked Fast. Those 2 companies are doing some amazing things. So we have a lot of stuff coming up in this next year that will make some major changes. So it's really exciting. Definitely check them out as well.
All right, groovy. Do you still have a website, or you just do it all?
Sorry.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
And last but not least, Pretty in Ink is the tattoo shop that I work out in Bakersfield. I travel all over the U.S., but that's my home spot. It's a great shop. We've got a bunch of talented artists in there. Everybody that's in the shop is awesome. So if you want to check out their Instagram as well, and we have some big things coming up in the next year there as well. Hopefully next time I'm on, I'll have a real big announcement concerning the shop, and we'll be able to talk about that then.
All right, groovy. Okay, so like we've been talking about, it's all about tattoos. So let's start at square one. What got you into tattoos? Getting them or wanting to put them on other people? What got you started?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's I thought we'd just jump into, actually the profession, but both stories are interesting, how I got involved on both levels. So I don't know why tattoos have always been interesting to me. I know a lot of people, this one friend, her uncle was super tatted up when she was little. She always thought, the pictures, the shading, she was really drawn to that. I didn't really have anybody in my life like that. I know some people look at, guys in bands that they liked. I have no reason for why I was drawn to tattoos.
Okay. I
just always have been.
All right.
So, as soon as I turned 18, it was time to go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, so I actually, when I was 18, I had a college visit. As you know, and your listeners will learn, I've always been very into athletics. Always been an athlete, always competed. So I was on a college visit to Wartburg. And so those people that are listening that don't know me, grew up in Iowa and then, moved out to California. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But I went on a college visit. That went well, but it didn't take the whole day. So I had some time. Me and a friend went up to Rochester, Minnesota, and I got my first tattoo at age 18.
No kidding. Why'd you go all the way up to Minnesota?
Well, because I grew up in Lime Springs, Iowa, which is only about 5-10 minutes from the Minnesota border. That's only that was the closest at that time.
Okay.
Things have changed, but at that time, that was the closest tattoo studio to me, an hour away.
Okay.
And so you got to remember, 95, man.
Yeah.
Tattooing has changed dramatically, and that'll be, I think, a theme as we get talking to everything. The changes over the past since I've gotten involved to now it's incredible.
Yeah.
So we went up there. And the funny story about that, and a lot of people know this back home, is there was one tattoo studio in Rochester, husband and wife. The marriage apparently didn't work out. And again, you know me, had a few concussions over the years, so some of the story gets a little off.
Yeah.
I don't want people out there mad at me. But so the story, the way I remember it was marriage didn't work out, so homegirl decided to open up her own tattoo shop right next door. So it went from one tattoo studio in Rochester to 2, and they were right next door to each other, which I think is pretty ballsy. So anyway, I had no idea what I wanted. I just knew I wanted to get a tattoo, and I knew it ended up being a bulldog, which again I've always been, very into. I'm now on my second bulldog.
Yes.
The school I teach at is the Bulldogs. I mean, that theme has kind of been in my life as well. So, that was the first one. And, I always thought, one and done, but that has definitely not been the case.
That cracks me up that, one of the reasons why I get a kick out of being friends with you is because we're so different, even though we're so much alike about stuff. That your college visit, you're like, I got some extra time, college visit, let's wild out and get a tattoo. Mine was, I'm like, where can we score some booze? Where can we find some chicks? Let's get loaded and let's tear it down. And you're driving to the next town getting tattoos. I love it. So, you got the first one at 18. I've often heard that if you get your second one within like 6 months or so, you're in. Is that true?
How long? Everybody's different.
Go ahead.
I had a long layoff, so it was funny because I had, my mom was very much against tattoos, and she had always said, if you ever get one, the joke was you have to get the heart, the mom heart on your butt. That's the only way she would allow it. So,
cool.
So I had to hide the tattoo at the house, and then it was in the spring. But I think it was. Man, anyways, by springtime when they found out, because I was in track season, you have those little tank tops or whatever, and somebody, my parents worked a lot. I mean, they didn't go to a lot of my events, so somebody had told them, like, hey, when did Aaron get that tattoo? And they're like, what? And so, anyway, the tank top showed it off, and, the rest is history. But, that was the first one. And then there was quite a bit of layoff, till the next one. I think, man, it wasn't, I was in college, so it had to have been at least a year or two before the next one.
Okay. What was the next one?
It was the 90s, bro. I got that tribal band around the ankle. You know what I'm saying?
You have one of those?
Classic.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
So, yeah. Oh, beautiful.
See, I'm glad. You know what? I might be late to the tattoo game. I didn't get my first one till my 40s, but I'll tell you, I missed all the trendy shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I never wanted to do it. I couldn't commit to anything because I never thought what I thought at 22 was going to be cool when I was 60. So, tribal.
Yeah, and the best part was it hadn't taken off yet. You know what I mean? And so.
Oh, so you were like early tribal adopter?
Yeah. And I don't want to be like that guy, but
Too late.
It just obviously it went crazy, And so I'm actually in the process of getting covered now, as well as that Bulldog's covered as well too. So my first two are the only two cover-ups I have. Not because, and the Bulldog was very special to me, and I didn't get it covered because I didn't like it or because it was bad work. I just didn't know when I was 18 that someday I was going to have a full back piece.
Okay.
And that little, small Bulldog did not quite fit the overall composition of what we planned. So it is covered up, and like I said, covering up the tribal on my ankle right now with the Samurai Star Wars pieces that I'm sure you've seen.
Oh, sweet. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's a pretty specific skill to do cover-ups, right? Like you need a certain level of talent to be able to do it and not fuck it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so my buddy Kevin is working on my leg, and he's super talented. Check him out, Kevin Bevcar. But there's a portion, I don't want to jump too far either, but there's a portion of my career where about 85% of what I was doing was all cover-ups. It was in that boom where like everybody, especially out here, bro, everybody and their cousin had a tattoo machine in their garage. And I was spending so much time covering up other people's crap, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And that's fine. I don't mind doing cover-ups. Some artists don't like doing cover-ups, but I don't mind it at all. It's definitely its own challenge. The piece I was working on yesterday was a cover-up. I'm doing this huge dragon over this little ice cream tattoo this girl has, and it's coming out sick. I can't wait to finish it. We just got I did a bunch of shading stuff yesterday, and we just have to finish up the color about 2 weeks. So it's exciting.
All right. And before we get too far ahead, I want to kind of keep it back in the past a little bit. So you're in college, you're getting your follow-up tattoos. When do you get the first gun? When do you get the first gun and be like, all right, I'm about ready to do this? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were neighbors, did you not do one of my roommate's arms?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
The Barrel of Monkeys thing?
Barrel of Monkeys, yeah.
How early on into your I forgot, but how early on to you doing tattoos was the Barrel of Monkeys on his arm?
Fairly early. So let's I'll get to that.
Okay, that's just,
if you want, we can start. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, God, the balls it took for him to do that. But of course. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you're getting tattoos now. You're like, all right, I want to start putting them on people. What's the first step? Are you?
No, that's not how it went at all.
Oh, okay.
That's not. Yeah. Okay. So go back to 1996, I suppose, 96, 97, somewhere. 96, 1996. I'm in the dorm still. So then 95 or 96, right in there. Anyway, I'm in the dorm.
Which dorm did you guys live in again?
Ryder.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, people that went to Northern Iowa. Ryder sucked. It wasn't the Towers.
No? Well, okay, so people that don't go there, the reason he's saying that is because it's all guys.
Yeah.
So, of course, it sucks for you.
Abe Froman parties across the board.
Yeah. So we had all guys. It was the only all guys building on campus. So it was mostly football players and wrestlers for the most part. We were all there. You know what I mean? And that seems like a good idea because you can keep everybody in check. But then you realize how crazy everybody is, and you think that's probably not a great idea. But there's a lot of other guys there too. But anyway, what happened was, especially with all these athletes in the same dorm, I was kind of the anomaly because I was one of the only art kids. You know what I mean? So being an art major, these guys, which is very interesting at that time, would come to me and say, "Hey, you want to draw up a tattoo for me?" And the interesting thing about that is at that time, people weren't doing a lot of custom stuff. You know what I mean? It was more, especially in college town, it was more.
What's the term? Is it flash art? Is that the term?
Flash art. Yes, exactly.
Hey.
So pick them and stick them, baby. You go in, you go, I want that one, put it on me. You know what I mean? And so, that's obviously changed. That's been a huge change in the industry. But at that time, that was not the norm. And so I would draw these things up, and I would tell them, "Hey, cool, we need to go see my buddy Matt down at Eternal Ink."
Ink, yes.
Yeah. So Matt's, fast forward a little bit, I've been doing all these designs and sending him business. And so he's tattooing me. This is my third tattoo, I believe.
Which
was,
God, I hope they get worse. What else?
No, the same. It was kind of a matching tribal variation on my arm. Got to go with the other one. So,
Okay, Goldberg.
Making it razor sharp. Yeah. So anyway, so then I keep telling him, hey, go see my buddy Matt. So Matt's working on me, and as he's tattooing me, he says, "Hey man, I've seen your designs come in. Why don't you start tattooing?" And now, again, you got to realize, in 1996, there was no Ink Masters. There was you couldn't get a $20 tattoo machine from China off eBay. There was, you know what I mean? Like, there was a very different time. There were no tattoo rap stars, really. You know what I mean? There was within our industry, like, people knew, but mainstream people didn't know. It's still that kind of biker crowd.
Yeah.
Soccer moms were not getting tattooed at that time. They just weren't. And so, it was just a very different time. So when he said that to me, I had never even considered that. I was at school. I knew I wanted to teach art. I knew I wanted to work with kids. I knew I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to do all those things. That was not in the game plan at all. So don't
forget. Sure. You wanted to be in crappy bands with me and other friends too.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely for sure. That would probably good that didn't quite take off. So I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. I mean, to the level that, anyway, we need to have that conversation at some point. Yeah.
All right. I got us on a squirrel sidetrack. All right. Keep going.
Yeah. As this will probably happen several times with us.
Yeah.
But, so he said that to me, and I had never considered it. But he said, and my apprenticeship with him was not traditional at all.
And I want to get into that because I know there's ways to get into it. So I want to get into that.
Yes.
Continue.
And at that time, again, that was kind of the path. There's a lot of different ways to do it now. But he said to me, he goes, I'll get you your gear, and I'll apprentice you for a year. He goes, and this is not normal. Nobody ever says this, but Matt goes, I want you doing tattoos on your own, and then come in the shop and we'll talk about, what you're doing and mistakes and how to do things better. And come in after hours and I'll show you some stuff. And so it was not the traditional, you're in the shop every day, sweeping the floors and washing everything and take care of, sanitizing everything and all that stuff, sterilization. That's kind of the norm at that time. And, scrubbing the toilets and, getting them coffee. And that was kind of the norm at that time. And his approach was, very different. So
he's like, start making some shit.
Yeah. Birth by fire, so to speak, just let's go. And to which I said, yep, let's go.
Right on. So he's like, I want you to get into it. So he legit bought the gear you needed to get things rolling?
Yeah. I mean, he got me all set up. At that time, coil machines. So I had one liner, one shader, a few different things. And I would buy supplies from him. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if that's, I'm sure we're past the statute of limitations or whatever, but it was just a weird situation, compared to most people's story about how they got in. But yeah, he taught me how to tattoo, and that was a very interesting process for sure.
Do you think your entrance into the business, being it different, was beneficial or maybe hurt you in a few ways?
I don't know. I wish I would have been in the shop sooner, and I tell people, you shouldn't, just be randomly getting tattoos wherever. But it's always funny to me too, and there's a big argument in our industry now where, scratchers, people are doing them out of their house or whatever, are looked down upon. And I agree that, it's got to be regulated and it's got to be clean and it's got to be healthy. But it's funny too, these tattoo shows, they'll show LA Ink or Miami Ink, when those shows were on, they'll show them doing it at a hotel for some famous person, because they didn't want to come in the shop or they're out on tour or whatever the case. And then that seems okay. Well, wait a minute, I think we just need to be very clear about, what's okay and what's not. And there's obviously some legality in some states. And what's crazy, and I know we'll get into the travel stuff in a bit, but what's insane is state to state, there is so many different laws. The laws from Iowa are different than here in California.
I can only imagine.
Some places are wild, wild west. There's nothing, Chuck. There's no regulation at all in some places, and it's insane.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the sound of that.
No. Well, I mean, and their idea is that these shops will regulate themselves, and if there's any actual issues, then health department would step in or whatever. I don't know what their whole viewpoint is, but they don't want to get involved. They don't want to deal with it. So that is what it is.
Oh, funky, man. Okay. Interesting. So I don't know a ton about tattoos. I mean, you gave me my first one a couple years ago in my 40s. I have I guess I'd say 2 now. Whatever. I've watched some Ink Masters. Whatever. I've been around the block.
Right.
What the heck was that?
That was Hank. He's a little upset. That's for those that are listening. That's my dog. One of my dogs.
Oh my God, that was a beast.
Do you remember Hank?
Hankus, yeah, he's still around.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
okay.
He's just a cranky old man now.
All
it's
right.
awesome.
I have to throw things at Benito when he starts snoring when I'm doing the interviews. So I have a handful of things I can toss at him that won't hurt, but it will wake him up. So I get it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I know a little bit about this stuff, not much, enough to be dangerous. But one thing I've kind of noticed that there's a lot of expense in being a tattoo artist. That
Thank you for mentioning that.
Okay, the supplies and the gear and everything, it takes a lot of money to actually do it.
Yeah.
How does that all work? If you're, say, I'm going to work in a tattoo shop, are you bringing you're bringing all your own equipment?
Yeah. So, again, thank you for saying that, because we have this horrible thing in our industry right now where a couple things are happening. One, we have some places where there's so many people tattooing that's saturated. So artists are undercutting each other, which is not a good situation. And the clients know it. So they, will talk to one shop or another shop or whatever and say, oh, so-and-so will do it for this. And I don't think that's the right way to approach getting art on your body for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like, that's a bad situation.
That's fucking whack.
Yeah. But that has been an issue. The other issue has been the no-show clients. When I go these different places and these different shops, there seems to be more and more clients that don't show for their appointments, don't call, reschedule at the last second. And listen, I know things happen, things come up, whatever. We all got kids and lives and whatever. But, when you don't show for an appointment with an artist, they've put time and effort into your design. They've, got things set up. They have to pay their bills. We have to live. And if you don't show up, that's, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many hundreds of dollars, they don't make that money.
Oh,
they don't pay their bills. If you know what I mean? Like, Don't make an appointment if you're not going to show. And again, I know things come up, and, I've dealt with clients that, whatever happens, and it's no problem. But I hope people that are listening to this are considerate of their artists and are paying what those artists are worth, because, you do get what you pay for.
Well, I don't know. I think it tells you a lot about a person too, and how they're going to approach it. Because, well, one, the big one I got over the summer, my half sleeve or whatever, I had to pay like a deposit. I had to pay a deposit that I just kept pushing forward, right? Which I'd had no problem, but I got referred to the shop and the specific person from a friend. I actually got referred to my buddy Corey Coleman, who was on episode number 3. Thanks, Coleman and your old lady, for pointing that out to me. Fish at Tattoo Works is pretty sweet down here. Or Color Works here in West Des Moines. And I went in, I was like, here's what I want to do. This is kind of the theme, because mine's a Star Wars one, right? And I'm like, these are the players. Make me something. And she's like, okay, well, are you worried about budget or not? Which I could respect. I think you should talk money right out of the box. And I said, no. I'm ready to throw down some loot on this. And she goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then she did the thing, and she goes, this is what it's probably going to take, and this is what it's going to cost. And I didn't negotiate once. I said, all right, it's worth it. I mean, because it's going to be like 20 fucking hours of my life and be on here forever. So,
right.
It was
and
weird.
Also,
we didn't nickel and dime at all.
No, nor should you. And that's a situation where, as an artist, if somebody, and again, people are working hard for the money, and the economy is what it is. And, I always try to work with people on their budget. But in that situation, at some point, if you would have been like, can you do it for this? You know what I mean? Like, that always puts the artist in a weird situation. And it also makes them kind of feel like, well, you're not that serious, or you don't care that much about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good situation to go that route. So and also your approach with, here's the main idea, but you're the artist, you do the design. That's awesome. That's how it should work.
Okay.
And you're always going to get the best tattoo because of that, because they're doing what they do best. When we have all these people that, they want it to be their design, cool to an extent, but also, you're not an artist, and you might not completely understand how the composition works and what's possible and not possible. And there's a lot of variables that most clients aren't really aware of.
Yeah, I didn't have the balls to say do exactly this, because I don't know. See, I lucked out when I went to Fish, and she kind of added on to the one that you gave me. It was just happenstance that she had a boatload of Star Wars stuff up in her deal. And I'm like, so you're obviously a huge nerd. She's like, yeah. And so I'm like, I'm going to come to you in a year or so with an idea. And I literally just said, these are the characters. and make something. Then she came back. I had one piece. I said, swap this for that. And that's all. Was my only feedback.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't know. I thought it worked out pretty well. Anyway, we're getting kind of sidetracked, but so it costs a lot of money to be a tattoo artist. So if you're not even thinking about going at it full time, you're still in college, and you're about to get out of college, or you're getting out of college. How do you stick around and keep doing it kind of on the side as a side hustle?
Yeah, and I know I am the anomaly. I know it's a weird thing to be doing as the side hustle, so to speak. But I love that art form, you know, and I've been blessed with a bunch of opportunities that have allowed me to do it. So, you know, the goal was always, you know, get my teaching and coaching credentials so I could do that. And, but like I said, you know, Matt gave me a year. It was like, hey, you know, do this, I'll teach you, and then come work for me. So I had those opportunities, and then, you know, fast forward, I, you know, kept doing work and whatever, trying to up my skills, trying to always improve. And when, I eventually got recruited to coach and teach, out here in California, I just figured, I'll just bring my gear and then, you know, get into another shop and be good to go. That plan didn't really work out. The first two shops I went to talk about possibly getting a job, I walk in and I see drugs in both shops.
Ugh.
And just, yeah. And this is not how I was brought up in the industry. I was very fortunate as you know, like I said, Matt brought me in, and then Tim, who owns the shop now, and Juno, who's the only artist that's there now at Eternal, those guys both really helped kind of mold me as far as understanding how the industry worked. And, you know, and I feel like I've always had pretty good morals. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not, I wasn't into it. So,
well,
you know, I was back. Go ahead.
You know me, I've been around the block, so I'm not going to bag on someone for doing drugs in their free time. I just don't want my tattoo artist loaded when he's putting putting shit on my body for the rest of my life. That seems like a bad situation.
Yeah. And it was just, it was a bad first impression. You know what I mean? So
they weren't even hiding that shit. They're just like, plow.
No.
This is what
we
do.
And it was 2 in a row. I was like, shit, maybe they do things different in California. I don't know. But it was just not good.
Let me clarify it a little bit. Was it just some homies smoking some weed, or were people getting down on some shit?
So one was weed and the other was a little harder, but I mean, still not super crazy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But still not what I want to be involved with. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it.
Not a good situation.
I totally get it.
So, yeah, and on your own time, no judgment here. Don't get me wrong. Just that wasn't for me. So
crazy.
Yeah, I kind of
okay.
Yeah, I went back underground again, you know, and was doing stuff and just trying to, you know, keep my art skills up. And meanwhile, I'm doing a bunch of freelance graphic design. I'm doing paintings. I got a bunch of gallery shows. I started doing mural work. There's tons of murals in this town now that I've done, different high schools and businesses and all that stuff. So I'm always creating. But, you know, finally at some point, I start just, hey, I'm going to start when I travel, just see if, you know, I can guest spot at a different shop or whatever. So I started doing that, and, you know, guest shots at, you know, back home in Iowa. I'd go back and work at Eternal and go to Arizona. And then that led to getting on kind of a travel team that went all over.
How does that happen? How do you get connected to, like, because it's one thing of going back to your old shop that brought you up. I can see that. But how do you end up? How do you end up, quote unquote, going on tour with a crew, essentially, like during an expo or I'm in town, I'll come tat at your shop for a day? How does that even happen?
Right. And you got to know people. So funny enough, I had met Heather and Bobby Moss through wrestling. Actually, we took a team to Arizona, and they're based in Arizona. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but he's a great tattoo artist, and she's a great businesswoman, but she's also a tattoo model. Kind of one of the best known in our industry.
Okay.
And so I went to their shop after talking to them, after talking to Bobby about wrestling. And then, he offered to, hey, if you're coming through, guest spot at the shop. So I did that. I went and did a weekend, and they're like, the whole time I was there, they were like, hey, we've got this thing coming up in Arizona here. We need a couple more artists, and I was like, the dates, I didn't think were gonna work, but I finally rearranged some things and made it work, and went there. And for those that don't know, conventions are a little bit crazy. Like, you show up either Thursday, Friday, set up, and you tattoo all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It's crazy.
Well, I want to talk about that because I had never heard or thought of a tattoo convention until I saw you were doing it. You started posting shit on Instagram and stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this? So what is a tattoo convention?
So you go into a huge building, and there are a plethora of artists, and you go and talk to whoever and get basically whatever you want. The great thing about conventions is if you, for example, I just got back from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Cool.
Okay, I was the furthest traveling artist for that show. Mm-hmm. So the people that I worked on, I don't know how often they get chances to get tattoos from an artist in California.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's an opportunity, and especially some of these bigger shows, like, you can get some, kind of, if you have a bucket list of artists, for example, like a lot of people do, it's going to be due to travel and other things. It sometimes gets hard to go see those artists or the wait list and whatever. But if they happen to be at a convention you're at, it's a great opportunity.
Okay, I never thought of that. All right. Talk a little bit more about how does somebody have to essentially like a schedule time with you ahead of time, or just walk up and say, I want a tattoo, and the line forms to the left?
Yeah, both. So I'll get into that in a second. What I wanted to say was after that first convention went really well.
Okay.
And then, so I finished that Sunday, drove home. That Tuesday, they called me, hey, can you make it to this other one? And I can't remember which one in Texas, I believe, was the next one. And such and such date. And again, I couldn't make it work, but I moved some things around, made it work. And so went and did that one. And so really my tattoo career started with the conventions, and it kind of took off. And that really wasn't planned. That was just, hey, I started doing this and this, and it led to this. And it snowballed very quickly. And it just opened a lot of opportunities, and going on the road and meeting other people and making friends in the industry, and them wanting you to come to their shop and come to this convention and that convention. I just was very blessed to have those opportunities, and that was not the plan. I'm very goal oriented. I usually have goals, and here's the plan, and I'm very much that type A personality. This was not it, but I rolled with it, and it's just been a huge blessing.
So add to the many lists of things you've done, like I mentioned, we did music together, but you had an independent record label at one time.
Yeah.
Is the tattoo business taking off? Is that what essentially put the record label to bed?
No, that if I hadn't already, it would have, and I'll tell you what, bro, I miss making music, and I miss being on tour. I miss being in front of people, but I will tell you that tattoo conventions are very similar. It's the same kind of adrenaline. It's the same kind of internal high. You are on tour, and I'm Irish, man. I have no gypsy blood in me that I know of, but I definitely somehow have that traveler mentality to me, and I think I've told you stories from the road, and I know you toured a little bit too, but there are people that we saw on tour that were not built for the road, good bands, really talented bands that were going somewhere, and they got out on tour and go, nope, we can't do this. And we saw that happening as we were touring different places. The good Lord built me for the road. I could definitely be on the road all the time and be happy with it. So the convention circuit and the guest spot circuit, that stuff is very much like being on tour. It's just a different art form.
All right. I can feel that. Okay. Without getting too far into the weeds about the music biz, because that's not what we're here to talk about. Finish telling me the story about how somebody gets to be tattooed by you at the convention, how setting it up and the line and all that bullshit works.
Yeah. So a convention will release what artists are going to be at the event. And at that time, then I'll start getting messages, usually on Instagram. Hey, I'm interested in getting this by you. You know, let's set up a time and whatever. Ideally, you go into a convention already booked out. That's best case scenario. Okay. More to the point, especially when you're not a huge name, you haven't been on any of the TV shows. You show up and you might have one or two booked already, and then you got to fill the time.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's just, it's just walk-ups. And that's one of my favorite parts, to be honest, is somebody comes up, you're talking with them, they're there to get tattooed, not necessarily from you. They want to get tattooed. They haven't sometimes they come in, they don't even know what they want. And you have those conversations and you get into, hey, this is what I'm looking for, or I don't know what I want. I'm just here. I go, okay, cool. Look at my portfolio. What do you like? What are you into? Boom. And really the great thing for me is that's a challenge. Like, when I have a client at home, I might have a week or two to come up with ideas, or a month even come up with ideas. And, I might be on idea number 26 by the time I draw it up for them. You know what I mean? This is what I want. Draw it up. Let's go. There's no time. It's very efficient. You gotta, and I don't want to sound like, hey, we're just rolling people through like tattoo this one, get the next one. It's not that at all. But you are trying to recoup, especially on some conventions, you're trying to recoup the money that you've already spent to be there. A lot of guys with their travel costs and everything, they're walking in, $1,500, $2,000 in the hole before they even set up.
Damn.
And yeah, luckily, with some of my sponsorship and stuff, I'm not in that boat. But and again, I've been super blessed. But when you're in that situation, you got to hustle. And as my buddy Havoc says from Wicked Fast, he'll tell customers, he goes, and we don't want all your money, we just want some of it, and that's a valid point, because we're trying to get people in, get them what they need for a price that they can afford, and then get them happy and then move on to the next client and try to do the same for the next person.
Because people aren't coming and getting like 5-hour sessions from you, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. This last one I did a 5 or 6 hour piece on that Saturday. Yeah. For me, that's been kind of, so Fridays, I usually do like 2 smaller pieces. And then usually Saturday, I end up booking a pretty long piece or 2, sometimes those, depending on what time they open, sometimes they do like a 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 to 12 or whatever. So they're long days, bro. We're in there and we're hustling hard. So that Saturday, I usually get at least one pretty good chunk, 4 to 6 hours, usually about 6 hours on that Saturday. And then Sundays, usually a couple more small pieces or whatever. It just depends. A lot of variables.
Roughly when you start getting into this stuff as far as the conventions, what year are we talking? How long ago was this? Wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, like I said, everything's kind of just really come together and taken off within the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's not, fairly recent.
And so how difficult is it to book this sort of stuff around your I hate to say real life, but you got a full-time job, you got a wife, you got a kid, you got dogs, you got life going on. So how difficult is it to juggle all this and get it all set up, and how far out do you have to do it? And are you to the point where like, I'm going to book 2020, let's do it and start setting it up?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It takes a lot of planning, and due to my already crazy schedule, it's crazy. So, as you know, I coached wrestling for 20 years.
Holy
this last
shit.
season was my last.
Was it really that long?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
God, we're old as fuck.
Okay. So, at the school that I'm at currently, until the beginning of this season, I was the only head coach they had ever had. I built that program from zero. And so that took a lot of time to build, and we have a very successful program. We have one of the best girls program in our area. We won the Central Section last year. Our boys program is very successful. We have tons of state, placers and kids that are wrestling college, and that's basically why I do a lot of that, was to get these kids a free education. Like if we can get them to college, kids that normally wouldn't. I teach in a very low socioeconomic area. Kids that would normally not go to college or not get an education are now going for free. So that was a big push. We really built the program, but in order to do that, it took so much time. And this last season, with the success of both our boys and our girls programs, I got a call from the district to go to a meeting, and it was on a Friday, and it's right after season. And they go, "Hey, we really need you at this meeting. You haven't put in your paperwork yet." I go, "I'm not going." And they go, "No, we really want you to be there." I go, "Listen, I have not been to school." This is in March. I have not been to school on a Friday since December. So every weekend we were going to all these tournaments. We'd leave on Thursday night, wrestle Friday, Saturday, come back. And it became a point where on Thursdays my daughter would say, "Daddy, don't go."
Oh.
So
shit.
yeah. Oh, done.
Yeah.
So I stepped down, and the point being, I don't want to get too much into that, but the point of that story is that I have to be very careful that I don't fill the same amount of time with other stuff.
Well, yeah, because you're kind of like, would I call you straight edge in college? Would that be the right term?
Yeah, I lived that life. I never used the term because there were some other things attached to it, but yeah.
You're like the only straight edge person I ever knew, but you're addicted to doing shit.
Yeah,
you're
right.
addicted to
Absolutely.
You're addicted to a to-do list. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather be a crackhead than to be addicted to a to-do list.
Well, and I don't want to get in the whole faith thing, but I feel like God has given me a certain set of skills and certain opportunities in front of me. And I just think if I don't do them, it's kind of slapping them in the face. You know what I mean? I've got all these opportunities and some ability. I'm not the most talented guy in the world, but what I do have, I do feel like I should be using. And I just, there's that Midwest work ethic in me for sure. My parents were very hardworking people. And I just feel like, I'm not good. I'm not good at relaxing. I'm not good at sleeping. I'm not good at all those things that should come natural. It's not in me. I'm not wired that way. So and I could be gone every single weekend at a convention or at a guest spot. I could, and I have to be very careful not to do that. So that's what it is.
Being cognizant of that is good. See, I lucked out because I had to do some traveling a couple years ago for my job, but luckily my kid was so little, I was the only one that was dealing with it. She wasn't even processing it. So, but no, I get it. I mean, that makes sense. And dude, you were really tough to get a hold of, like through the winter. I remember a lot of like almost music projects we had, but it was like, wrestling, which is cool because, I'm the king of not finishing music projects. So it's all good.
Yeah. We got some stuff to finish, but no, it was, and for those that don't really know, I mean, there was times when building that program where I was doing, our high school team, our little kids team, our boys team, our girls team, our JV, our varsity, and I've had a great support staff. I've got a couple guys that have now taken over. Joe Rojas, those guys are awesome. They're taking over the program for me. But there was a time where I would be at school every night till 9 p.m.
Oh, that's bonkers,
or 7 a.m. Or earlier, if we had a morning lift, I was there at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Like I said, to build that program and be successful in the area that we were at, hey, that's what I had to do, and I was willing to do it. But
that's crazy.
Man,
I couldn't imagine giving a shit about anything to put that much effort into something.
Yeah, but when I had, started my family, and, my wife was super understanding, and she's always been my number one supporter. But, having my daughter, it really became and that was part of the music thing, going away was, I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna be. There's no way I'm gonna allow myself to be a crappy dad or a not their dad, or you know what I mean, like that's or a husband that's not 100% in, like that's not, again, I'm not wired that way. I'm not, and you and I'm sure, and I say this jokingly, but we're in this situation now where a lot of our friends are getting married for the second time, and I tell everybody this. I go, no, you get one from me. I go the first one, and then if you go up there and you say, forever and whatever, and then the second one, I don't have time to go to both of them, bro. So you get one wedding out of me, and that's it. But
fuck, I won't even go to. I won't even go to somebody's first one anymore.
The first one.
It's just such a.
Well, you're in mine, so I appreciate that. You're in mine, so that's all that matters.
And you know what? I think your wedding might have been one of the last ones I've ever been in. And don't take this the wrong way, but it truly was one of the worst experiences of my life. Only because I got absolutely shit-faced the night before, and then had to put on a tuxedo in August Iowa weather. It was not pleasant.
Well, it's not easy to hang with my Irish family, bro.
Uncle Fuzzy, right?
Yeah,
I remember that
sir.
shit. Oh my God! So I don't even know how we got to this point. Okay, so you're not coaching anymore. So you're filling the time as far as your spare time with the tattooing. Then is that it? Because you're not doing the music anymore, obviously.
Right.
And
well, that's kind of I got something in the works, but we'll talk about that later.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Yeah, but no, and again, I'm not trying to fill the time. I'm really focusing on being the best dad and husband I can be.
I know, but you gotta have a hobby. You gotta do shit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, they're super supportive. Like I said, 2 weeks ago I was in Vegas. 2 weeks before that I was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So doing tattoo stuff for sure. Back in Vegas this weekend, and then I got a bit of a break. You know what I mean? So It won't be like wrestling season where I'm gone every weekend. I need to focus on, priorities. But the tattoo thing is definitely a priority. And I know you keep saying like that's a part-time gig, but it's really kind of neck and neck with the teaching thing, and it's hand in hand. I'm out there trying to learn and get better and improve and helping teach some other people. Not only like tattoo stuff, but mostly a lot of financial stuff. Like a lot of tattoo artists don't have, the same financial background that I do, and talking with them about planning for the future, because tattoo industry is not like teaching. There's no pension, there's no health care, and again, that goes back to paying your artists and all that stuff. These guys and girls are planning for their future of their family, and so it's important what they do, and you should be paying what it's worth, because you don't think of that stuff. You don't think about the cost of the needles and the ink and the paper towels and the da. But then it comes down to, hey, and these people are working for their future. It's not corporate America, and thank God it's not. You know what I mean? Like that's part of the greatest thing about it. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying it takes balls to try to eat off of your art. It takes some balls. Because everybody in their mind, most people in their mind are like, hey, I wish I could have done this, or, whatever. But it's like, even me, I wouldn't say I'm an artist, so to speak. I got to music really late, but I was, my trade is multimedia, hence the podcast or whatever.
Right.
But I sold out for the money pretty quickly. You know what I mean? When I left Iowa and headed out to Arizona, and I was freelancing, I was doing some producing and stuff like that, and it was feast or famine. I was like, fuck this, give me a sales job. I'm gonna start making some money and living. Just the fact of the amount of balls it takes for somebody to say, I'm gonna make my living this way, and then all the extra hassles that come with that. Like you said, no health coverage, or you have to worry about your own retirement account. What a pain in the ass, man. And then you're going to come in and haggle $50 over your shitty tattoo idea?
Right, yeah.
Now I'm getting all fired up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're almost out of time, but I had a couple I wanted to ask you a few random tattoo questions.
Yes.
Just some shit
Yeah.
right off the top of my head. I don't even, as you know, we discussed, I don't plan any of these interviews. So if it's going well, that's why it's going well. If it's going poorly, that's why it's going poorly.
Well, I hope this is going well, bro. I hope people are enjoying this conversation. I know I am.
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well. What was the first tattoo you gave somebody where you're like, you know what, that one's good, I'm satisfied with that one?
Yeah. So when I was doing the apprenticeship, that the best advice was, hey man, don't start with a full sleeve. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So the very first tattoo I ever did was on my buddy Will Fensky, and it was a small little kanji, a dragon kanji, on his back. And I did that. That was my first tattoo, New Year's Day, 1997. That was the first one. And, it just kind of built from there. For my first one, and it still to this day looks pretty damn good. So, but there's been other ones where, especially in that learning curve, and it's funny too, because people ask me about tattooing, and it's funny because, there's no erasers. You know what I mean? Like,
nope.
You can, you can cover stuff up, you can do this and that, but, you are taking that time, you're putting that needle in the skin, and you've got to be ultra focused on what you're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, in those first couple of years, there's definitely some pieces where, if I could fix them up now, I definitely would. But like I said, I started off pretty slow and didn't get too crazy. So I felt like I had a lot of success early on, which was good. And it's crazy to me too. Like, I've kind of been up and down in whatever in the industry, but there's points where like you just get so confident, especially when you're young and dumb, which, you knew me at that time. But I mean, there was times when, the artists talk about, freehanding stuff where they'll just, draw it on with a marker and then go. Well, there were some pieces where I wouldn't even draw on with a marker. I would just go.
That's ballsy too. Jesus.
It's insane. But at that time, I was so confident in what I was doing.
Damn.
Like, here we go. And just did my thing, So, yeah, so to answer your question, I mean, there's always successes and to what level I think is every once in a while I surprise myself or I'm trying a new technique or I'm doing a subject matter that I've never done. And those are so much fun. Or I'm just working with a client that I haven't worked with and we're just, having great conversation and making jokes and, all that stuff's fun. And, that too, and I know this probably gets lost in the conversation, but that connection you have with people during that process. I mean, it's a very intimate thing, and you spend that time and you're very close. And,
I think it's very important, the relationship, in my opinion, just because I remember when it was weird because it's like, I was so late to the game, but when I went into the artist that I use now, I mean, I've only had two people do it, you and this woman. I immediately was kind of connected with her, and I think it was through the Star Wars stuff. And she was a Marvel dork too or whatever, but we just kind of started bullshitting about stuff, and it kind of went from there. And so it is a very intimate thing. Like you said, you're in weird positions. You don't always have all your clothes on. It's you have to trust the person. And so I could see why that wowould be a big draw to the business itself, because you're a people person.
Yeah.
But that also begs me to ask, can you tell me about your worst client experience?
Oh, I've had some doozies.
Oh, I'd imagine. What's the worst? What's the worst one?
Man, I don't know if there's a worst. There's all those different situations where. And again, when you're young and you're trying to really, get as many tattoos as you can, build up that portfolio, and you're trying to make the money and this and that. I do remember in the tramp stamp days, I had this woman who was screaming and she was like kind of in a massage chair style. So her feet were like pointed back towards me and she kept kicking me. The whole time I'm tattooing, she keeps kicking me. And I'm like, and she's screaming and it's just, and now, first of all, that she probably would have never made it into my chair now. Like you start to realize in conversations now, hey, this is not gonna work. You know what I mean? And so she probably wouldn't even made it in my chair. But again, I was like, I have to do this and whatever. So literally 2 guys held down her legs because she was like, no, keep going. I was like, this isn't, and I don't like, the part of tattooing I don't like is hurting people. You know, it is a painful process.
Yeah,
and again, if you have that connection with people, I think you can very much make that easier on them and talk them through it and help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I do enjoy that part of it, but the actual hurting people sucks. And so, you know, I told her, I was like, hey, this is not, we're not going to finish this. She goes, no, I want this. Da, da, da. And she'd be like, very like calm and cool. And then like at the needle hit her, she's screaming again. So, each guy held one leg down so she didn't kick me, which, you know, if you're getting kicked while you're tattooing, not great for your art. You know what I mean?
Nah.
And so we got through it, man. She got her little tramp stamp and she was super thrilled, gave me a great tip, and we kept moving on. But yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of different stories like that, you know, just the client was out of their mind a little bit, but you know, it's all part of the fun.
What percentage of clients give you a tip? When I went to go, did I ask you about when I went to go in if I was supposed to? Because I asked somebody.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say this out loud, but I don't know if you remember. And again, so those people that are listening, I mean, we live, you know, 2,000 miles away from each other. We don't get to hang out very much anymore, which is unfortunate. Which is also why you keep mentioning other tattoo artists. I mean, we could have, you know, kept working on stuff, but 2,000 miles makes it tough.
Yes.
But I remember we were talking so much, and then you know, Will showed up, and we're having a good old conversation. I forget who else. Oh, Mumra showed up, and I remember. So anyway, I remember having all those conversations. I think Joe was there too. Anyway,
yeah,
we're talking. We do your tattoo. We're talking. You leave and then call me. Hey man, I forgot to pay you. Like,
oh yeah.
Damn. We got so caught up in what we were doing and talking and catching up. Yeah, you totally, and not your fault, not my fault. Just happened, and so you came back and you tipped. But I don't remember if you asked me about it. But some people do. They go, hey man, what's the protocol? And those are usually my more mature, a little bit older clients that. And are a little more financially sound and ask. But yeah, you should definitely, it's a service that you're getting provided, you know, and you should definitely tip. Percentage wise, I would say most of my clients do, which is both good and bad. It's great because they care about what I'm doing for them, and they appreciate me and tip me out, which is awesome. But then also because I have so many great clients that do, when somebody doesn't, it's like, oh, damn, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where, like, you don't know if they don't know, or you don't know if they didn't really, you know, they're saying how much they love it and this and that, or you don't know if they're cash flow, this was all they had to spend, you know. And I know sometimes that's definitely the issue. Like, hey, this is what I had to spend on this, you know. So, yeah, that is what it is.
All right.
Good question, man. Good question.
One more question. And I don't even know if this is a top or a bottom type of thing, but tell me about a memorable tattoo that someone came to you and you had to talk them out of it.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that.
Because from what I gather, a good tattoo artist, if you're not ready for it, if your design is stupid, or if where you want it doesn't work, you should be able to talk someone out of it if it's not going to work, right? That's a skill you should have.
Yeah,
right?
And I had this conversation with a younger tattoo artist that I work with, and you got to kind of, you know, use salesman it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, you got to sell them on the better idea, and that's not just for us. That's for the client. You know what I mean? Like, we have your best interest in mind. Now, I'm sure there's some shady dudes out there that are like, oh yeah, she came in and wanted a $20 tattoo or whatever, and I talked her into this giant, you know, $400 piece. That's not cool, but whatever. But if they end up loving it, then that's something to be said for that too. But I will say, especially when I first came out to California, I would get the idea from somebody and I would draw it up, and they go, and it was always the same conversation. It was just done in different little ways, which was always weird. And they would say something like, well, it's really cool. I like that. But could you do it like, you know, not so detailed? Could you not like put so much into it? What they were getting to, which I didn't realize at first until like the third or fourth conversation like this, was they wanted it to look like they got it in prison. They wanted to make it look like they were tougher than they really were. You know what I mean?
They wanted a prison-style tattoo?
Right. That's what they were looking for. And like I said, third, fourth, when I finally realized what they were trying to get at, I was like, oh, so you want me to make your tattoo look crappy on purpose? Yeah, that's not going to happen. So all of those, I talked them into better artwork, but it was funny and I didn't catch on right away. You know what I mean? But I had to talk all those people into getting something better than what they actually wanted or what they saw in their head. And they were all happy for it. You know what I mean? I'm sure, especially now in their life, they're way happier for it. But they wanted that kind of that West Coast locked up jailhouse style. And I'm just like, man.
Oh my God.
And you can take that to the next level. I mean, and we owe our roots to, some of the, especially the black and gray styles to that prison style. And there's some guys that are locked up. They're doing amazing work with way less than, you know what I mean? But it's just these people were trying to get a crappy tattoo and it just wasn't happening.
That's so fucking weird. Put something terrible on my body. Okay, but whatever. I get it.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure you got a gazillion other stories, so we're gonna have to have you back on.
For sure.
I'm not sure when we'll do another full interview, but you do have some stuff to update us with soon, right? Some things you want to announce?
Yeah, there's some awesome things in the works.
Okay.
Some I can talk about. I will say this: the stuff that I'm doing with Rook, man, there's going to be some in the next couple of months. Some big things happening. Same thing with Wicked Fast.
Mm-hmm.
They do a skincare product. It's right now it is for tattoo aftercare, but he has a whole women's line of skincare coming out, and it's just amazing stuff.
Is it? Wait, but here's the question though: is it better than David Lee Roth shit?
Yes, for sure. It is by far the best thing I've ever used, and I've used basically everything. Okay. All natural ingredients. This dude makes it homemade in Missouri, and Havoc is doing great things with that company. It's funny because I have a client whose daughter has eczema, and the doctors could never find anything, a cream or anything that would work well enough for her.
Okay.
And so she's always miserable. Yeah. And so I was tattooing him, and I gave him this stuff. I go, yeah, try it with your daughter. He loves it. He goes, this is the only thing that's ever worked for her.
That's cool.
I'm like, hey, I told Havoc, I go, he's the guy that owns Wicked Fast. I go, you're onto something, bro. I mean, this is a great product, and he's a good person. So, I love, same thing with Rook. My buddy Chris is a genius, and the stuff that he's making now, like I said, he's going to, change the tattoo industry. He's already doing it, and the next couple of months are going to be big. And then I have some other stuff personally in the industry that, by summertime, I'll have a couple of announcements that'll be big. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody when I can, you know?
And we can even do a thing, and we can schedule, just call in for a couple minutes and be like, hey, check this shit out. We can do whatever. That's cool. It's my show. I make the decisions.
Yeah, heck yeah. Be your own boss, bro.
All right. Well, I got to go. I got Mandalorian to watch. Disney Plus came out today.
Yeah, me too.
Bitches. So,
can't wait.
Yeah, I got people.
Yeah, bro. This is how much I love you, is that I took time out from The Mandalorian to do this podcast. So I hope you know. But on a serious tip, like, you're doing a great thing with this podcast. I'm super impressed, super proud of you. So keep up the good work, man.
You're making me blush a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We'll go watch the show. I'll catch up with you. And remember this post on the 15th, and you're required to share it with everyone you know.
Oh, will do.
All right, man. We'll talk to you. See ya.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to Middle Age Crazy, the show that proves being an adult doesn't have to suck. Brought to you by moonsaltmusic.info. Underground and independent hip-hop for the old heads. Free downloads available now. All show inquiries can be sent to middleagecrazypod@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Middle Age Pod. Call us at 515-478-3412. Ask for Janice. Middle Age Crazy is a Greg Valentine and Clarence J. Washington production.